At this time, I have the honor to present to you the moral leader of our nation. I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I am happy to join with you today
in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration of freedom in the history of our nation.
50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
It came as a joyous daybreak to end a long night of their captivity.
100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination.
100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity.
100 years later, the Negro is still languishing in the corners of American society and finds himself exiled in his own land.
We all have come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of the now. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to change racial justice into the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice ring out for all of God's children.
There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted citizenship rights.
We must forever conduct our struggle to the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic height of meeting physical force with soul force.
And the marvelous new militarism which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people, for many of our white brothers have evidenced by their presence here today that they have come to realize that their destiny is part of our destiny.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up to live out the true meaning of its creed.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of the former slaves and the sons of the former slave owners will be able to sit together at the table of the brotherhood.
I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
I have a dream that little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream
that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places plains, and the crooked places will be made straight. And before the Lord will be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
With this faith, we'll be able to hew out of the mountain a stone of despair.
With this faith, we will be able to work together, pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom forever, knowing that we will be free one day.
And I say to you today, my friends, let freedom ring.
From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the mighty Alleghenies of Pennsylvania,
Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California.
But not only there, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain in Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill in Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at
last. So what is freedom? The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved.
So yeah, there's this theme of togetherness, and if we bring it forward to how today's society is working, how it works at the moment, it seems that people tend to exclude themselves from other people's problems. What I feel is that we don't realise that in some way or another, someone's problem is your problem. And so if we can come together and make all the issues our issues, then we'd be a lot happier. So particularly in as far as black people are concerned and the issues facing us, it seems that there are so many groups that kind of don't want to chip in and support us in raising awareness to say the oppression that we're still facing today. And it's quite sad that society still hasn't progressed, but I think there are a lot more people kind of wisening up to this idea that groups are being oppressed and that something does need to be done about it. If you don't talk about it so much, then people tend to forget, and then once again we fall into this idea of that's not my problem.
It attacks the narrative at the moment and the comfortability of some people at the moment. So people try their hardest to not encompass that philosophy or anything else that challenges it. So it's just, like I said before, it's irritating. It's a problem that we face, and we do not have the solution to it.
I think it's very sad for it to have to be a dream for people to be respected. I grew up in a very white middle class community. I was never really made to feel different. Like, my parents never broached the topic until people started talking about my hair and why my hair's braided and it's not out, and when it is out naturally, why is it curly? And then those questions started coming up, and then I had my mum sit me down and she was like, yeah, you are different. And she basically told me that, but you shouldn't allow that to stop you from having ambition. But unfortunately she did tell me that because I am different, I would have to work twice as hard. A C was in a pass. Even an A was in a pass. And it hit me hard because I was like, that's a bit unfair. Like,
in a world full of people, there are so many, and your own personal dream may seem unrealistic due to circumstances, whether that be you being a female in a male-dominated career or whether you be a minority. This speech even lets you know that your dream is possible. It lets you know that your dream is something dependent on how much you put into it, that you can do it through your own merit.
Was for equal rights and for better lives for him, his family, his community, and the wider society of America. He wasn't just thinking about just the black families per se, but was talking about his own experiences and the things that he's seen. And for me, growing up being black, coming from a black family, the speech means so much. It's just about how we can aim for better, and there should be better, and society needs to work to make that happen. But in reality, when you look at things we just don't have equal rights as black people. We have them in legislation, but we don't have it in reality, in education. So few black professors, the curriculum is inherently white. We just don't have black students getting the grades that they deserve, the BME attainment gap, exclusion rates of young black boys and even girls in primary school. It's just even from such an early age, we're still experiencing disadvantages and setbacks, and just the employment gap. There's so much that's said and preached about diversity in legislation or in policy, but how it works in reality or in business or in education is just it's this thing that just feels so unattainable. So the speech has relevance, but it just feels we're still such a long way off from getting to this, not even utopia, because it shouldn't be seen as a utopia for us to have equal rights, but to actually just get to the place where we have what it is that we deserve as black people.
I feel the speech as well talks about certain things. So for example, the whole living on the island, you get that a lot, especially when you come to uni, because uni might be white majority, you're then on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Then the speech talks about poverty. You may come from a deprived area, go to a bad school, because it's your environment kind of, makes you who you are. So if you meet someone from different environment, I'm not saying that you won't get along, but it's just like, it can breed a certain type of person. Like for example, me, if you like I said, a kind of deprived area, may feel victim to the system, that can make you kind of ignorant to the outside world or where you live. So when you then meet someone from out of that place, you don't want to learn, understand. And equally, when someone grows up in a better area, only knows one thing, they might not want to hear what you got to say. So I feel like you said, coming to uni, it's just like a lot of different type of people. And then when you are kind of conversating and comparing, you may just like shy away, they might shy away. So it's just, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's the little things, like making friends. Making friends, like I said, it just builds onto the loneliness. You come to uni, you struggle to make friends, you're then more lonely. How does that affect your mental? Is it you, is it them? What are you doing wrong? What are you doing right?
And Dr. King talks about that in his speech of like how he wants like little white girls and like black girls to hold hands, like what he wanted for his daughter. And like sometimes like you just won't find that, like and like we say that like we're really multicultural, really diverse, like we might all go to like, I don't know, sit in the same place and have coffee, but like we're not all sat together. And it's not that like black people aren't integrating, it's actually that like, because every black person will have white friends, but not every white person will have black friends. And it's kind of like the ownership always comes on us to integrate, and it's like we literally are doing the most to to integrate, as it were, like, but it's just that thing of like we just still have like a really segregated society. Like you find some ends of London are like predominantly black, some are all white. You find certain club nights are all black, certain club nights are like predominantly white. And like it is just that ambition that Dr. King had. It's like we're still literally just not there, and it's frustrating. And like it does come down to that thing of like, again, like, it isn't our problem, racism, but again, it's a problem that really impacts me. And like, so looking for problems for like an issue I didn't create.
I think this speech is extremely relevant in today's society. It's clear we haven't reached equality, especially what's going on in the news and concerning America. I think we really need to take a look at this speech and implement it in how we feel about today's politics and society.
I can see it in the US as well as in Britain, the fact that there are areas in inner cities where not only black people but ethnic minorities in general are forced to live with worse quality schools and public services. And I can also see it when we look at discrimination, because, well, black men are like a lot more likely to go into prison or stop the search, and they only make 3.3% of the population, but a lot more of the prison population.
I think the speech is really hard hitting. I think he really wanted to make a point, and I think sometimes you've got to shake people to wake them up to the reality of what's going on. So I think that's one of the reasons why he chose these words, and he called out this particular place.
I think a lot of people sort of forget about the speech overall. They just think of it as that one speech from that one time. But overall, I think the speech is about equality, and we still struggle with that this day, whether it's to do with sort of gender, sexuality, or race. So I believe that it is still relevant to this day, because overall we still struggle with that part.
Martin Luther King, like, it was a great speech. It's a hard-hitting speech, but it's just like how I see the world now. The things that he's addressed is just the layout. So I might address something now, 50 years time, it's only the layout. So I wouldn't say I have any dreams or aspirations of where I would like it to go, but it's just more that I understand that it will change, hopefully for the best, and if not for the best, it will do someday. That's my take on it.